Hi friends, Mrs. Musalami here. Since it is just about April and April is National Poetry Month, I thought that we could do a little activity that will help with our poetry, with writing it, reading it, understanding it. So here goes. So the first poem that I want to read is called Hope is the Thing with Feathers, and this is by Emily Dickinson. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. That's one stanza of this poem. And the reason that, in my opinion, it's so powerful is because it uses a metaphor. And metaphors, if you didn't know, are a type of figurative language in which a word is used to represent an idea. So one example, a very common example of that would be, "You're my sunshine." And metaphors are so powerful because they enliven ordinary language. Imagine metaphors, imagine writing without metaphors being like a piece of chicken boiled with no seasoning on it, nothing at all, just bland boiled chicken. Kind of gross, not really worth eating. But with the salt and pepper, with seasonings, with some kind of a dipping sauce, it's delicious, right? Its flavor is enhanced, it's completely transformed. What was just a piece of meat before becomes this delicious, tasty dish. So kind of think about metaphors in that way with your writing. Without them, it's kind of boring and dull. With them, it brings it to life. It makes it so much more meaningful. So back to that poem that we were reading earlier, that stanza. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. So the metaphor, the word or object that's used to represent this idea of hope in this poem, do you know what it is? Bird, right? The thing with feathers would be a bird. Perches in the soul, sings the tune without the words. And so the poet, Emily Dickinson, in this poem, used that bird to represent the idea of hope. Why? I'm thinking because, birds, when I imagine birds, I see them in my mind flying in the sky. Makes me feel free, right? And they're so high up. Sometimes when we're sad or we're feeling down, we need our feelings lifted up as well. And I know I like to listen to music to make me feel better. And I think that because birds naturally have that tune, they sing, that could represent that hopefulness too. So here's another poem that has a metaphor, uses a metaphor, and it's by Langston Hughes. It's called Dreams. Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast to dreams, for when dreams go, life is a barren field, frozen with snow. So it's interesting. This one connects a little bit to the Emily Dickinson poem in the sense that it's talking about this theme, this idea of hope, dreaming, right? But this one, instead of talking about what hope is, it's really talking about the absence of hope. What happens when we don't have hopes and dreams? And so the metaphor that he uses, Langston Hughes uses, is trying to show that without hope, this can be a really powerful thing as well. And so again, sort of like the idea Emily Dickinson used of the bird representing hope, he, in stanza 1 here, is talking about the absence of hope and a broken winged bird. So what image is conjured in your mind when you think of a broken winged bird? Hopelessness, right? This bird that can't fly, this sad and useless being that can't soar, can't do what it was meant to do. Same thing in stanza 2. The absence of hope here is represented by a barren field. So the metaphor there is the word or object to represent hopelessness is this field that's empty. If you look at the background of this slide, it's this desolate, barren field with snow. And so again, no life, no purpose, no meaning. So we're going to try an activity now that will get you thinking a little bit more metaphorically, called Metaphorical Mastermind. And so here's how it works. We will think about an idea, a theme, an idea, kind of like hope. And then we're going to think about some objects or words that could represent that idea. And that would be our metaphor, and then explaining it, right? So an example would be hope is a cloudy day. No matter how dreary the clouds will clear and the sun will return. And so thinking about hope in the sense of a cloudy day, yes, it might be a dark time, might be a hard time, but we know that those clouds will eventually clear and that it will be hopeful again. So you could try that with any of these other words. Hope, how is hope like a tree? How is hope like a ship? How is it like a flashlight? Or maybe there's some other words that you could brainstorm that would represent hope. Okay, so now I'm going to try the Metaphorical Mastermind activity in a little bit of a different way. And you could try this too if you want to switch it up and make it sort of like a game. So on these index cards, I have put on the blue ones, I put the concepts. So different intangible or thematical ideas like we were just doing, hope, friendship, love, things like that. And then on the yellow ones, I decided to put a bunch of objects, things that could represent something else, but they could just be random words, really, just nouns, verbs, anything that could symbolize something else, or just random objects you can think of. And so we're going to try this now with my daughter, Sienna. Can you say hi? Okay, come here. I need you. I need you real quick. Come on over. All right. Go ahead and pick a yellow card and a blue card. Awesome. Okay, so we have winter, and then we have hope. So how is hope like winter? How can this represent this? Let's think about it. Okay, so after a little brainstorming and jotting down some ideas, I came up with something. And I will say that this might take you a little bit of time, especially if you want to think of something deeper and really, truly metaphorical and come up with a really great connection between those two ideas. So I wrote one and I didn't really like it, so I came up with another one. And I wrote, hope is winter. Sometimes it feels cold and endless, like all of life is hidden under a blanket of snow. But underneath it all, there's the promise of new beginnings, flowers waiting to bloom, animals eager to emerge from hibernation, the hope of springtime. So as you can see, doing that activity can really spark some metaphorical ideas and can inspire you to write your own poetry. So I would encourage you now to try it. Color your writing with metaphors. Think of an idea or theme or themes. You could do multiple. You could use the ones that we did together today, friendship, hope, perseverance. You could use love, kindness, or any others. And then second, brainstorm a list of words that remind you of that idea or those ideas. Or they could just be random words. You could kind of challenge yourself to just think of any connection. Then pick a couple of your favorites and write down the connection between the word and that idea. You could do this with the graphic organizer that I attached to this document, or you could try it like I did and make it sort of an activity with index cards and a pick and choose, random picking and choosing. And then if you'd like to take it from there, try writing a poem about the theme or the idea that you chose. You have a couple different options. You could stick to one metaphor throughout the whole thing. Like if I wanted to write about how friendship is like a garden, I could write the whole poem about that. That would be called an extended metaphor. Or I could use a new metaphor in each line or in each stanza. If you do this, please share your doc with me. I would love to see what you come up with. And another idea, if you're thinking metaphorically, is to keep almost a metaphor journal. So as you're reading your novel or whatever book you're reading, writing down metaphors and similes that you like. And you could maybe store them in your author writer toolkit to use in your own writing later. Try it. Be a metaphorical
mastermind.